So, thank you, Samir and Bhaskar, for your introduction. So, Bhavin and myself come from an industry which is experiencing technology adoption as never before, and we are looking forward to sharing some of our experiences today. Healthcare industry constantly faces new challenges. There are new epidemics, pandemics. There is increasing chronic disease burden, mental health and geriatric health burden, and a shortage of skilled medical professional at all times. With an estimated market opportunity around 6 trillion, AI, in particular generative AI, could potentially address some of the challenges in the coming years. But why there is so much of buzz around generative AI currently in the recent times? This is because with the rapid digitization in the healthcare industry, there is an immense amount of data available for the technology. Stanford had estimated around 2,300 hexabytes of healthcare data getting generated every year. And with such a huge data available for data scientists to generate insights and build algorithms, AI in general may help to analyze this data at scale, create new epidemiological or disease models, and build predictive algorithms. By creating automated workflows using clinical decision support system, we can reduce the burden on healthcare workers. Moreover, data generated by home monitoring devices, wearable devices, which can help to build proactive healthcare models than the traditional reactive ones. So we are looking forward to have a data driven decisions as a way forward in healthcare industry. So, Bhavin, you come from a rich experience into a life sciences industry. So, how do you see the buzz over there?
If we look at the large language models like ChatGPT, BERT, Mina, Lambda, enables AI scientists to process the large contextual, textual and protein or genomics data and medical literature to solve the daunting challenges in the field of healthcare and life science. Thus, the generative AI can reduce the significant time and save money. So, if you look at the life science industry, the traditional drug development takes 8 to 10 years with the huge investment of $1 billion. Generative AI has shown the promising results in drug discovery and development process by shortening the overall R&D lifecycle timeline. If you look at the recent development, in 2022, 2020 witnessed the first AI designed molecule entering into the human trials, followed by the DeepMind predicted 20,000 protein structure in human genome. InSilicon received the FDA first orphan drug design this year. So total, there are 150 small molecule drugs in discovery phase and more than 15 are already in clinical trial. These are really exciting time ahead, giving us a huge benefit in terms of shorter time span to find a new drug, also to save cost. Dr. Anjali, with all this excitement, what are the challenges from the regulatory perspective as healthcare being such a heavily regulated industry?
So, there are interesting times for even the regulatory organizations. As we know, US FDA and the European regulatory authorities, they themselves are grappling with task of how to, apply these routine or established standards to these novel entities coming out of AI. So traditionally, what FDA used to do, it used to evaluate and authorize the medical products in the prospective trials. So such trials use a specific criteria, and whatever the trial data, it demonstrate whether a therapy is meeting a particular objective, and then accordingly, the approval would have been granted. Artificial intelligence based products or solutions pose a very unique challenge to this established model because AI models constantly improve themselves, and defining a particular output from them is becoming very challenging. In fact, software as a medical device is a totally different regulatory approach taken by these regulatory authorities than a typical traditional one. And interestingly, these guidelines are getting updated very often with feedback from a lot of shareholders, including academia, research, and the industry themselves. So currently, there are actually 500 plus AI/ML enabled medical devices which are approved by FDA, and many more are in waiting. Interestingly, most of them are in imaging domain. I guess because imaging being a more structured data available, there are easy solution building which happens with imaging data. So when we come to the national scene in India, there are major efforts are done by the government to gain more digital maturity into healthcare sector. So when we look at the national health stack, which includes a unified health interface, which is an open protocol for various digital services, same time there is attempt to create a federated personal health record. So where an individual can own his data, he can give consent for data sharing across different organizations, and even participate when his or her data will get available for either a medical research community or industry to build the solutions upon. So, with all this effort and the active, very vibrant regulatory approach, I think we are looking forward for having a huge pool of data, even from our geographies, which will be available to build AI/ML solutions, and subsequently, what we say it as a personalized medicine or a precision medicine might be a near future. So that's the overall regulatory scene which we are seeing at India level and globally. So these are the few challenges from a regulatory side. But Bhavin, do you think there are other challenges which are faced by the industry in terms of either skill set or creating a new business model which will meet this AI kind of scene?
Yes, Dr. Anjali. If you look at the large language models, are a huge improvement, but they are really into the early stage, and we still don't know how the large language model will respond or fail to respond accurately while designing the domain specific solution. Also, we don't know the standard approach to measure if a conversation AI model was given in enough context or a background on a specific domain. And this mainly depends on the quality and variety of the data that is being provided for the training purpose. Other than these two technological or data specific challenges, if we look at on the skill gap point of view, the prompt design is the new skill that will be needed while designing a domain specific conversation solution. Uh, from the Indian context point of view, also the exposure to medical image analytics and healthcare record focus is limited due to regulatory and the data privacy. Whatever exposure we have so far is can be attributed to online open source database available for students and researchers to pursue advanced education in the field of AI and machine learning, with a very much domain specific focus for healthcare and life science. Also, if you look at the major part of our key AI and machine learning talent is mostly engaged into the consumer facing industries like e-commerce, fintech, mobile, IoT kind of a devices. So there is a huge shortage of the talent with hands-on experience when it comes to the developing domain-specific models. From the business model point of view, as you rightly mentioned, the platform approach is required, aligning to the national health stack, where we are trying to solve the two twin challenges. When we say twin challenges, means that an individual will have an opportunity or an application where he or she can see the complete medical history, including starting from your own medical test reports and consultation across the different discipline or this different specialty of the doctors. And at the same time, the same data is being made available for research and analysis purpose. The second thing is when we look at the R&D, there are many startups in India and abroad are working for new drug development. But there also, we need to look at the end-to-end platform approach while working with the global companies, because without having a platform approach, communication gap may arise and that may also introduce the time delay. Along with that, the startup need to look at the product development mindset and having the right approach instead of getting into the contract or service based approach. And that will help them to develop a solution which will impact individuals' life and progress. At the same time, while developing such kind of solution, as wide variety of healthcare data is available as an open source, startup also need to take care about intellectual property related dispute, because without having the right consent, it is going to result into the intellectual property disputes. So if we look at this, Dr. Anjali, do you still see that there are any early adopters globally around generating AI and patient care?
Definitely. I think we saw different regulatory challenges from our industry, but there are many success stories too. Healthcare of absolutely poses a unique challenge when we adopt new technology, because there is hardly any room for any kind of errors or inaccuracies. Moreover, there is additional patient data privacy, and we have to comply many healthcare standards, including say HIPAA standard. So one of the global success story comes from big names like Mayo Clinic. So Mayo Clinic recently announced their partnership with Google Cloud, where they want to improve the healthcare with generative AI. So Mayo Clinic is leading the way. They have a absolute fantastic data platform where there are millions of anonymized clinical records are available, and lot of technology startups can use the sandbox of Mayo Clinic, and they can develop their application, they can test their application, and they can check whether they're most suited for the clinician or they're most relevant for the clinical use. So similarly, John Hopkins, they have implemented a AI-based solution to detect sepsis, which is a life-threatening infection, which can happen with the peoples in the critical care unit. And such AI solution is helping them to diagnose sepsis way earlier than a patient develops actual symptoms. And there is a claim that this can reduce the patient death by 20%, which is a huge number. So I think there are many solutions like this, and many more are there in the imaging area, where there can be early cancer detection using imaging when augmented by AI before it can happen to a patient, or patient come with symptoms himself or herself. Even for example, a Bangalore-based Niramai, which has received the FDA approval for their breast cancer screening, and which is a thermal-based imaging, along with AI, can help women to get the breast cancer diagnosed way before they can be, clinically visit any doctor. So many startups are building solution in similar domains, and I'm sure we are waiting many more success stories in the future. So there is a bright future ahead, both from a patient perspective and a clinical perspective, when we look at AI and generative AI.